The date is September 3, 1260. In a valley called Ain Jalut, two armies stand facing each other. One side has never been defeated. The other believes they are already dead. For 60 years, the Mongol war machine has destroyed every enemy before it. They erased entire cities, murdered millions, piled human skulls into towers. From China to Eastern Europe, no force had ever stopped them. Not once, but today something unexpected is about to occur. Something that will permanently reshape world history. The Mongols are commanded by a general named Kitbuka. He is a Christian warrior who spent his life in service to the Great Khan. His army recently seized Damascus, Aleppo, and most of the Middle East. They arrive fresh from victories that once seemed impossible. Their confidence is absolute. Nothing appears capable of stopping them now. Opposing them are the Mamluks of Egypt. These are not ordinary soldiers. They are slave warriors. Boys taken from their homes as children and trained only to fight. Their leader is a man named Qutuz. Just 3 years earlier, he was nobody. A minor officer in Cairo. Now he is Sultan of Egypt, and he is about to make the most critical decision of his life. The Mongols send him a message. It is short and terrifying. Surrender now, or Cairo will suffer the fate of Baghdad. What happened to Baghdad was total destruction. 1 million people were killed in a single week. The rivers ran red with blood for days. But Qutuz does something no one expects. He executes the Mongol messengers and nails their severed heads to the gates of Cairo. This is a declaration of total war. In 1260, the Mongol Empire is the largest empire in human history. It stretches from Korea to Poland, covering 13 million square miles, nearly 1/5 of all land on Earth, and it continues to grow. Their power is not only brutality, but speed. Mongol horses can travel 50 miles in a day. Their riders fire arrows while galloping at full speed. The Mongols can strike a coin-sized target from 100 yards away while moving. But there is another weapon that makes them unstoppable: fear. When Mongol armies approach a city, they offer a choice: surrender immediately and live as slaves, or resist and watch everyone you love die horribly. Most cities surrender. In 1258, the Mongols captured Baghdad. It was the greatest city in the Islamic world. Home to the House of Wisdom, where ancient Greek and Roman knowledge was preserved, where algebra was created, where the first hospitals were built. The Mongols destroyed everything. They threw books into the river until the water turned black with ink. They killed so many people that witnesses said you could cross the city without touching the ground, stepping only on bodies. But the Mamluks are not ordinary enemies. They possess a secret weapon that even the Mongols fear. Every Mamluk warrior was once a slave boy, often from Turkey or Central Asia. They were purchased like animals, separated from their families forever, trained from childhood to serve a single purpose: war. They mastered swords, spears, bows, and maces. They studied tactics, languages, and the Quran. Most importantly, they learned loyalty. Not to blood or tribe, but to one another and to Islam. By the time they earned freedom, they were no longer stolen boys. They were living weapons. And they were brothers. Baibars is one of those brothers. He is Qutuz's greatest general, and he has a plan that might save Egypt. It is dangerous. It has never been attempted before. And if it fails, the Islamic world ends. The Mongols march south through Palestine with roughly 20,000 men. They are confident because they have never been defeated. They move fast because speed defines how they fight. Strike before the enemy prepares. But Baibars has been watching them closely, studying their habits. And he notices something important. The Mongols always repeat the same pattern. They send a small force ahead to scout. Then they attack with the main army. It works every time because enemies panic and make fatal mistakes. This time will be different. This time the Mamluks will use the Mongol strategy against them. Qutuz agrees to the plan, but he makes one change that will decide everything. Instead of remaining safely in Cairo, he chooses to lead the army himself. His advisors think he is insane. Sultans do not fight. They give orders from safety and let generals take the risks. But Qutuz knows something they do not. His men need to see him fight. They need to know he will die with them, because what they are about to attempt has never succeeded before. September 3rd, 1260. The valley of Ain Jalut. It is early morning, and the desert air is still cold. The Mongol scouts arrive first, exactly as Baibars predicted. About 1,000 horsemen riding fast and hard. They spot a small group of Mamluk cavalry waiting ahead, maybe 500 men. Easy prey. The Mongols attack instantly. Arrows darken the sky. Hooves thunder across the sand. The Mamluks appear to panic. They turn and flee. This is exactly what the Mongols expect. Every enemy runs at first. Then the main Mongol army arrives and finishes the battle. It has happened countless times before. But something is wrong. The Mamluks are not fleeing in terror. They are retreating slowly in perfect formation. They fire arrows as they withdraw, striking Mongols and horses, drawing them deeper into the valley. Kitbuka arrives with the main army just as his scouts vanish around a bend. He hears fighting ahead, but he cannot see it. The valley walls rise too high. The path grows too narrow. He should be cautious. He should send more scouts. He should wait, but he is a Mongol general. Mongol generals do not wait. They attack. It has worked for 60 years. Why would today be any different? The Mongol army pours into the valley like water through a funnel. 20,000 of the world's finest warriors, hungry for another easy victory. They can smell success ahead. They imagine the gold of Cairo, and then they see them. Mamluk warriors rising from hidden ground like demons from the sand. For the first time in 60 years, a Mongol army is trapped. But the Mongols remain Mongols. They do not panic. They do not surrender. They form ranks and prepare to fight their way out. They have been outnumbered before. They have been surprised before. They have never been defeated. Kitbuka orders a breakout toward the south. It is the shortest route to open desert. If they reach open ground, speed and archery might save them. The Mongols charge. Their arrows strike true. Their horses smash into the Mamluk lines. For a moment, it appears they might escape. Then Qutuz does something that changes everything. He removes his helmet. He throws it to the ground and screams with all his strength, "O Islam!" Every Mamluk hears him. They see their sultan fighting like a common soldier, bleeding like they bleed, risking everything as they do. The effect is electric. The Mamluks surge forward with a fury the Mongols have never faced. These are not farmers or city dwellers. These are professional killers who trained their entire lives for this moment. The battle turns into a slaughter. But for the first time in decades, it is not the Mongols doing the killing. Kitbuka fights like a lion. His sword cuts down a dozen Mamluk warriors before he is finally overwhelmed. With his final breath, he shouts defiance at his enemies. He dies as he lived, without fear. When the sun sets on September 3rd, 1260, almost the entire Mongol army lies dead. Only a few hundred escape to tell the story. But the true victory is not only military. It is psychological. For 60 years, the Mongols seemed unstoppable, chosen by heaven. That myth dies in the sand of Palestine. News spreads rapidly. From Cairo to Damascus to Baghdad, people who lived in terror for decades dare to hope again. The Mongols can be beaten. Conquest can be stopped. Far to the east, the great Khan Manji receives the news months later. For the first time since the empire began, a Mongol army has been completely destroyed. Western expansion halts immediately. Resources meant for Africa and Europe are redirected elsewhere. The Mamluks use this pause wisely. Over the following years, they reclaim every city the Mongols took in Palestine and Syria. Baibars becomes sultan after Qutuz is assassinated by his own officers. Medieval politics remain deadly, even among allies. But Baibars continues the war against the Mongols and the Crusader states. By 1300, the Mongol Empire begins to fragment. The unified war machine breaks into rival kingdoms. They fight one another instead of expanding west. The Mamluks rule Egypt and Syria for another 250 years. They become patrons of art, science, and architecture. Cairo grows into one of the richest cities on earth. Knowledge preserved in Islamic libraries later fuels the European Renaissance. None of this happens if Qutuz chooses differently that morning. If he stays in Cairo, if he negotiates, if he rules instead of fights. Ain Jalut saved more than Egypt. It proved that any empire, no matter how powerful, can be stopped by people willing to fight for home and belief. The Mongols never forgot the lesson. In later wars, they became cautious when facing similar tactics. The age of easy conquest was over. Today, Ain Jalut is a quiet valley in the West Bank. There are no monuments, no signs explaining what happened there. Most visitors do not realize they stand where the course of world history changed. But on September 3rd, 1260, on that very ground, former slave boys proved that even the greatest empire in human history could bleed. And sometimes that is all it takes to change the world.